Hello, my name is Stuart Lamb, president of BlueArrow Telematics, and I'm here now with Melvin McNeil. He's my what's the term I can use here? He's my right hand for the most part. Yeah, we've been through a lot together in this business, and we've really grown up together in this business. And I wanted to kind of ask Melvin a few questions about some of the things we've experienced over the last couple of years. And one of those specifically is really about some of the municipalities that we're working with now. Melvin, I know you have literally been out there talking to municipalities for many, many years. You and I both kind of, were seeing that that was becoming an area that we could really focus on. But I know for the initial stages of us talking to people, they never did anything. They just talked and talked and talked, but they never bought. But it seems like in the last 2 or 3 years that they're now actually moving forward, and government is really becoming a big believer in telematics. Can you kind of explain what you think maybe happened from 5 years ago to maybe the last 2 years?
Well, Stuart, great question. And, we have seen the industry change a lot. Municipalities were really hesitant, number one, because they didn't really understand the technology and the cost of it, of what the technology was. And so in today's time, with prices being reasonable, comparable to, one organization to another one, their eyes and their minds are open. And so what we have done here is been able to go and participate in what we call conferences, trade shows, and to present what BlueArrow Telematics does versus if you have somebody, say like a carrier or something, of what they do. We're really involved in our customers' day in, day out part of their business, showing them how they can be more versatile with their fleet, how they can get the best ROI, return on investment with their fleet, looking at the proper data. Our goal is just not sell them a device and then move on to the next one. And I think that has probably kept a lot of municipalities from going forward because somebody sells them something and then they can't find them. We've had the longevity of being together for this time and being able to stay together and being able to show people that, hey, we're in this with you. And so I think that's made a major difference over the last 5 to 7 years as we've attended these shows, been a part of those organizations, that they consistently see the same people. And we're talking about what we do now, but we're talking about the future other than just selling them a device and they can stick it in and go trackage trucks. And, that's not what they're looking for.
Yeah, that's such a great point. One of the other things, Melvin, I feel like we've seen in the past is that, when you look at municipalities, a lot of those municipalities make decisions based on price. Where I feel like we've seen customers in that world different is these customers that we work with truly understand return on investment. So, when you look at those customers that are out there and their RFPs are, for the most part, telling you can tell that it's all about price. And if you're not the lowest price out there, you're not going to get the business.
Correct.
What's the difference in price, low price, versus return on investment as far as what we have actually seen and proven for our customers?
Right. Well, the difference in price is you can get anything cheap. But when you talk about a return on investment, when you talk about the taxpayers' money, when you talk about citizens' money who pay taxes to those organizations, those cities, those county governments, they are wanting, if you buy it, they want it to be used. And they want people to say, okay, you bought this with my money for 500 trucks or 500 vehicles, but you're not doing anything with it. And so, but you got it at a good price. What's the value in that? And so it sits there, no one looks at it. And we've been able to let customers know, hey, we're not the least expensive on the marketplace. I don't like to use the word cheap,
Right.
but we're not the least expensive. But you're going to get your money's worth with us. We're going to be there for training. We're going to be there for conferences. We're going to be there to help you, hold your hand, and try to lead you through where you want to get to in the end. And that's the difference when you're talking about price versus return on investment.
Well, that's a funny point you bring that up, because I do want to ask you, we've had customers that kind of chose another provider for most of the time price. And what have they told us 6 months, even a year later, when they actually have not even moved forward? What is the reasons that they don't move forward?
Well, a lot of times they have been sold a bill of goods. They've come in with the bells and whistles. We can do this, we can do that. And they look at that price, they look at maybe getting it off some type of program, that says that, okay, I'm getting it cheaper, but they're not getting the same things. And then you reach back out to them and see how things are going, and we hadn't gotten started yet. And would that have been with us, they'd have been rolling already. And have gone to that end or gotten to that end game, that end goal that they were looking for. So, price is not always it. If you want a Mercedes-Benz, you don't go to the Pinto dealer. So.
I love your analogies.
Right.
They're always great. That's so true. Right. So I guess one of the other things I'm going to ask you is when you're talking to your customers today, the vast majority of the ones that I hear you talking to that we've gone to together, they're not talking to us about GPS tracking. Right. They're really just kind of saying, we've got that, but, and what are they asking you about? What are the things that are now the hot items that they're wanting to know more about?
Well, in the municipality world and kind of in the world as general, smart cities is a new thing because they want to do things with like traffic lights. When traffic going to be the heaviest at this intersection because of congestion. When you have larger municipalities, more and more people moving into those towns, so they got to look at traffic congestions. You're also talking about waste management. How can we be more efficient in our waste management programs? Something that you and I have heard is that the two most important things to a city is the safety and the waste management. Because nobody want to live in an unsafe city and nobody want to live in a dirty place. So they're looking at that. Green cities, green economy, green emissions, emissions controls is a hot topic. And the newest one is electric vehicles. Most people look at, they average about 35 miles a day when they drive their vehicle. But I need a big F-150 Ford truck. But you're only going from here to there. Yeah. And so organizations are starting to look at that and starting to incorporate those programs and solutions into their budgets. Now, those vehicles are not the least expensive, but when you take away fuel, when you take away a lot of the maintenance costs, they can start seeing some of those things. And they're starting to look at those for their transit system. So those are some of the hottest topics in the marketplace right now, along with efficiency and paperless forms. They're tired of paper. They want to do integration with their software solutions. Some of these big organizations have big software platforms that we can help them integrate with their solutions. So it's wide open for us. And so we're out there sharing it with them. And they like the ability to have one organization that can do a lot of those things.
Amen to that. And I will ask you, how many times do you have to go find somebody when they ask you a question, or are you able to answer those questions 99% of the time? I already know this, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you. And the reason I ask you is I know our competitors are literally going to look at the customer and go, I'm going to have to get back to you on that one. I don't know the answers. And that's what happens. But how about with you? What is it like with you?
Well, with us, we have a tremendous training program. And you being the president of our company, make sure that we're well-versed and well-educated. Now, nobody has all the answers, but we have the majority of them. And we can let our customers know that we know what they're talking about. We know what they're interested in. We have several solutions that we can bring to them so that we can take that headache away from them and they can go do what they get paid to do. And so it's a rare that we don't know when we talk with them. And that's a blessing to them that if anything comes up, any of our reps, any of our staff can answer those questions and get them the proper answer they need.
Absolutely. So my last question really is about what do you see as the future technologies that a municipality is probably going to be asking us about? That probability is if they go through other vendors, they're going to be having to go to 3 or 4 vendors versus just go to one. Right. What are you kind of hearing and seeing as the next thing for those type of municipalities?
Well, we've been looking at what we call hubbing, having a general place where all of their stuff is centralized, and they can do their cameras. They can look at their camera data. They can look at their distracted driving data. They can look at their paperless form data. It's all in one spot. They don't want to have to kind of go the 4 different places to look at things. We've been talking about building that, and I think we have some great partners that you have brought on our team that can help us to get to that next step. That's what we're trying to get to, centralizing a lot of things that we can put together packages for companies. They're thinking out the box and working with us and working with BlueArrow Telematics. They have a team of people that's already thinking out the box ahead of them. So a lot of times they're trying to catch up with us. We have to slow down to help them a lot of times.
True. Well, and the one thing I will say that I've noticed in the past is that a lot of times, when you're looking at a municipality that's looking at GPS tracking, for example, they're looking at it because they have one thing in mind, that's tracking the vehicles. Right. They're not necessarily thinking about what other type of information can we get from this device. Can we get engine diagnostics information? And diagnostics is a very tricky word. one thing I'm going to ask you is, we talk about maintenance, and that's
Right.
something that's becoming bigger and bigger, in my opinion, and I think you would agree.
Right.
But, with a lot of these municipalities that have a lot of big, heavy trucks, those suckers are not cheap to repair. They're also not cheap to tow when they break down. And when they
Correct.
do break down, it causes a lot of other issues on top of
Right.
that. What do you feel that is something that every municipality should at least ask us about if they have that type of situation?
Well, Stuart, once that engine light goes off, the damage is already done. And it's like your weight. You need to prevent yourself from having those problems. So that's what we're talking about. They talk about oil changes and keeping your vehicle lined up. Well, now there's preventative prediction solutions that we can bring to customers, especially they have those Class 8 and above diesel vehicles in their fleet, that they can start diagnosing problems long before that engine light goes off. Because once the light goes off, you already have the problem.
Yep.
And then you're looking at $700 to $1,200 to $2,000 a day that it could cost you for being in the shop. Then you look at the lost revenue, the lost time of trying to find another vehicle to replace that one. Or where did I get this crew? How they gonna go out and do their job?
The tow bill for that big
tow,
vehicle.
yeah, that tow bill. Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And so you look at, you always talk about that lost time, wasted time, energy, and that cost that they may not see, but these are some things that we can help them alleviate with these preventive maintenance solutions, that not just they get the code, but the solutions help them to find out what needs to be fixed, talk with mechanics, and help them look at all those other things. So they have a great solution there.
That's great. So I think in summary, if I were to say that the best way to put what Blue Arrow is all about, it is to give you the maximum return on investment. We are not going to be the cheapest product out there, and we don't advertise that. What we are going to do is provide the best support, the best consultation, and really we're going to put together a roadmap for you to be able to use this technology not just today and tomorrow, but literally for years down the road. And that is our focus and what we try to do. So if you're a municipality, you're trying to figure out which direction you need to go, I promise you, by having a conversation with us, you'll learn a lot more than you will ever learn trying to go out and research it on your own. So with that, I appreciate it, Melvin, and we will talk to you soon.